Hello and welcome to another serving of hot chips. Today's hot chips are extra tasty because we're back in the country after a long time.
Yes.
It's been, we've missed you.
Have you?
Well, I have.
It
been
sounded
we've missed you.
so
It's been,
genuine.
we've missed you.
Yeah. Well, I've missed the table.
They've missed you.
YouTube hasn't missed you.
guys.
You
I didn't
guys
miss
have been
you.
on the YouTube.
Actually, I haven't heard from any of our viewers to say they've missed me. So. Oh, God.
Alright.
To be
George.
fair, they didn't say they missed anyone.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, they could follow us on Twitter and tell us what they think. Only if it's positive.
Start
If you've got nothing
hashtag
nice
on.
to say,
Don't say anything at
don't
all.
say
Don't
anything.
let
at
us
all.
know that you haven't missed
Unless
us.
it's constructive feedback. Hey, don't like your haircut.
You know what? I like your haircut.
Yeah?
Yeah,
It's
that's
good.
good.
And the shirt.
That's not a new
Shirt's
haircut.
ready.
Yeah, the shirt, yeah, I don't know about this. I'm in jeans today, so I'm not sweatpants.
Tell us what you think of Jordan's outfit.
Okay. Anyway, Amy, what's on the menu today?
Well, as we mentioned, we are now back in the country, and where we have been was E3.
Ooh,
So,
sounds exciting.
E3.
we were going to talk about our standouts, our highlights, our best ofs,
Takeaways.
takeaways.
Being a hot chips podcast.
This makes
I think.
sense.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
Now, you guys were there. You guys got to see a lot of stuff that possibly we didn't. Got to hands-on when we just got to watch.
Yes.
the things.
Correct.
That's it.
It's very hard to experience it
Yeah.
as both things, though, because obviously we were at some of the press conferences, and then we got to play some things, and you kind of just, it all just melds together, and then you forget what everyone else doesn't know. So
Right.
we'll try and...
Yeah. Did you see anything that the public has not been privy to? Have you signed NDAs that says you can't talk about any certain things?
Yes.
We did.
That's cool.
Get to see it.
We signed something, but I don't know what that was in regards to.
Oh,
really.
they
That's
talk
good.
about it then. Since
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember.
It doesn't
No,
matter.
it's
This is their trick not to talk
Yeah.
about it.
I don't think we saw anything that's not public knowledge.
Right.
No.
They were just told a lot
This
of
could be
things.
good.
Yeah, anyway. Amy,
Yes.
what was your favourite thing at E3?
My favourite thing at E3 was probably Horizon Zero Dawn. And I expected that would be my favourite
Yeah.
thing. But it was made even better by Sony's amazing press conference to start with, how cool that trailer was, and then the fact that I got to go behind closed doors and play with, like, the developers played through that same scene with a little bit more kind of stuff going on, so they were telling you about what was happening in the scene, and then you got to actually go into a sandbox environment and test out.
So you actually got hands-on. You got to play.
Got to play it.
About half an hour, right?
Check it out.
It was very, very cool, and I'm very excited for it. So
Yeah.
that's definitely my highlight. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Alloy is her name.
Alloy.
She's so cool, and just
I like the name choice
yeah,
because
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Multi-meter.
just the ways that you can kind of play the game. It really feels like something different to me and exciting.
Let me ask you this, because when I watched the trailer, I was like, that looks really cool. And it looked very cinematic to the point where I'm like, does it play like that when you're actually playing it?
I want to say yes. Like I felt no difference. Like it is beautiful. It's stunning to play, and it really is that fluid.
So when you took down, you got to play, did you take down
Yeah,
the thing from the trailer?
We got to do a bunch of things. So one of the coolest things I thought was there's these like kind of spider-like creatures that have like, I think it was 8 legs. They're kind of like a crab, imagine, with a big thing on their back, and they carry loot.
Oh, yeah,
and you can
yeah.
kind of like use, I almost want to say it's like Tomb Raider's sense thing to like see what's in the loot, so you can take it down and you use a particular weapon to like shoot a particular part of it, and then you can just get the loot and run away.
You can see what its weaknesses and stuff, right?
And then there's obviously the rope shooting.
Yeah.
You tying it
where
down.
you can kind of tie stuff down. And also what was really cool, I thought, which I'm pretty sure I can talk about, was the reprogramming of different creatures. So she can like, ride the buffalo and like call them over and do that sort of stuff. And so I think there's just going to be a myriad of ways to play the game.
So my biggest question is, was there any hint on whether it was just going to be like an 8-hour story that you play through? Or is it a big open world where you can go and get missions and actually explore everything with an overarching story? So something that might take more like 40 to 50 hours.
That was something that someone asked and wasn't really elaborated on.
Right.
But the things that we did say is it is a story. So I feel like it's going to be a Tomb Raider vibe. Like, there's things you can explore and side quests, but the main storyline is going to be a main storyline. Like, it's just going to be that classic thing.
But the map looked very open worldy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could call it open world, but like you're progressing through a certain story.
Is it a bit more like, have you played Infamous?
Yes.
Yeah, so you do have an open world, but it's very, you're in this section, here are your mission markers, then you're in the next session, here are your mission
I think that would be it,
markers.
because I think you can very much veer off of the course. Like,
Right.
it will guide you through, but you could go and be like, I'm going to go hunt buffalo.
But there's no real reason.
Yeah, why would you do that, though? And also, there's lots of... the thing they did show and hint at was dialogue options, which is quite cool. That opens certain side quests. So they don't change the story, but they might give you more or less things to do.
One of the things I heard that seems really cool is if you're looking for a specific item, you can just create a mission
Yes.
around
yeah.
that. So you're like, I need this item, create a mission. Now there's a mission I can just complete to get that item that I need.
that's right.
Which is cool, other than just sort of just like having to grind for things.
Yeah.
Which is, nice solution to that kind of problem. But was there any hint of what you do with the stuff that you take down, that you take off these creatures? Is it upgrading weapons? Is it upgrading armor? That
There
kind
was.
of stuff?
I'm just trying to work out what I can say about that. I think that it's definitely it's like part of the story. So yeah, there was.
Right.
But I don't want to get it wrong or say the wrong thing right now.
Okay.
So I won't. But I think that there's information about it potentially online.
There's customization.
There's a story kind of in it as to why alloys, like why those dinosaur creatures and why the mechs. What are they calling them?
Robomin.
Robomantis.
Robomantis.
Why they're there,
Robomantis.
why she's hunting them, and why there is a story.
Can we just talk about the story and how, like, the trailer that they released slightly before E3, I think, completely ruined, like, what I felt was, like, a major part of the mystery?
Which part?
Well, the trailer that they released before E3 was all about where has Aloy come from? Because it's all like, you're not one of us, you were born from blah, blah. It's like,
Yes.
Yeah. And then it has her standing in front of this, like, massive futuristic thing that scans her and recognizes her. And it's kind of like, well, isn't that like a massive spoiler? Isn't that a fairly,
It's
like...
hard to know without
It's
playing
kind
it, I
of
guess.
showing that this future tech recognizes her, knows who she is.
Kind of like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Maybe
or
it recognizes every human and it indexes them.
maybe I just felt like the whole thing was about, like, where has she come from, and there's like an answer.
Where
in the
did she
trailer.
go? Where did she come from?
Yeah.
I feel like that's saying, oh, we've seen the robo creatures. We know that there are robo creatures in the world. Like, is that a spoiler?
Yeah, I'm
or
not
is that
jumping
the
to any
world?
conclusions.
No, I
there.
think
Yeah.
it's not enough information.
Maybe.
Okay,
We know she's going to be special. She's the main character.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a spoiler.
Okay.
She's going to die in the first act.
Theo,
Maybe.
you watched a lot of it
Bold prediction.
from little old New Zealand.
Yeah, I
which
got the
is-
viewer experience, which is even better, isn't it?
That's quite a good experience, I feel. Especially these days.
You get the HD trailers.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
On release. Did you rewatch anything to get a good feel of it?
I've rewatched a few things.
It gets a bit better.
Some of the longer gameplay things I hadn't quite seen. A lot of the Nintendo stuff where they did it on stage.
Right.
Also, when you're like at the press conference trying to like tweet and like update your shit and be like, oh, what did I just miss?
I didn't do that. I was just.
Well, I did that.
Good way to do it.
Theo,
Yeah.
what was your pick of the week?
I was real close to going to Days Gone because it's like Left 4 Dead and Last of Us, and it's amazing. But I want to talk about that. What I do want to talk about is Of Kings and Men, which is another medieval fighting. We're getting a trend of medieval fighting games, actually. We're getting Deliverance, For Honor, Bannerlord, and this one here. So it's a whole bunch of medieval fighting. It's like an era of medieval fighting games, which is
This
great for me 'cause I
excites
love
you.
them. It excites me greatly.
This excites you.
And Of Kings and Men is really cool because it combines like those three games basically. It doesn't really do anything with Deliverance, but so Deliverance is more like story led in the sense that you're in a world and you're doing things and talking to people, and it kind of covers a little bit of that, but not really. But it covers Bannerlord in the sense that you can build your own castles and create your own kind of world, and then it follows For Honor. It follows more Bannerlord's battle style actually, where you can direct where your sword's going to go and do things like that. For Honor's a little bit like that, but it's less arcadey. But you start off as a dude or a dudette, and you go through and you can build your castle and your realm and whatever. Once that's done, you can take on the overworld and take on other factions and stuff. And it's got all these layers of gameplay from you're in the world fighting a massive battle, then you're building. Now you own a kingdom and you can do all these buildings and sieges and stuff. And then you could probably take over the world. And it's very, very much, it's Bannerlord, but it's like combining. Have any of you played Rust by any chance? Or know anything about Rust? Survival Evolved?
Yeah, I've heard of Rust and I've heard of Ark.
Yeah,
but I
we
don't
know.
Ark.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are just like, it's Minecraft, but with real shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, not blocky.
It should be their team.
Who's developing this game?
I don't know who's developing of Kings and Men. I should have checked
Where
that.
did you see it?
Because I haven't even. This is the first I've heard of it.
First I've heard of it.
It was on one of the E3 recap sites, and I think it was part of one of the press conferences, but I can't remember which one. So we'll have to look it up afterwards.
Possibly the PC Gamer.
Possibly the PC Gaming Show, because it's not. From what I could see, it
I feel like these medieval games are so niche, right? It's not just me that kind of feels it. I feel like it's the kind of game that if you gave it a go, though. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like if it's one of those games that once you give it a go, once you understand it and actually get into it, it's probably one of those games that really hooks you and holds you close, like for ages.
There are games in this world that keep coming out and finding success in their market, and I'm often wondering who's playing these. Yeah. I can't think of it. There was some example the other day, and I was like, so many people must play these weird games, and usually they're like really obscure, like ported Japanese games, and I'm just like,
or like one of 7,000 RTSs.
Yeah,
like how many does there need to be?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting. I would love to get more footage of this just to understand. Is it kind of like a top-down strategical one, or is it there like For Honor where you're kind of... right.
It's got over-the-shoulder combat. Or third-person rather, not over-the-shoulder.
Yeah.
Sorry, third-person combat. And then you've got your building, which is like you command your guys to do things. So you're in third-person still, and you're commanding guys to do things. And then there's the overworld where it's sort of like Rome Total Wars in general kind of map layout and all these games. But I think I can imagine one of the reasons why people don't tend to look at these medieval games is that it's not fantasy enough, and it's just like
But see, I like that. I would rather a medieval game than a fantasy game. Fantasy bores me so much.
Oh really?
Just like there's nothing that connects me to like a history that has dragons and wizards and stuff. I'm just like
and there's a lot of Deus Ex Machina kind of like in fantasy stuff just solves itself. Oh, it's magic.
This game sounds really interesting, and maybe we should put a link in the comment
because
if you're hearing this for the first time like we are, go check it out because it sounds interesting. I can't remember what we're up to.
Reagan.
Oh yeah, you don't watch E3?
No, I never watch E3. I definitely didn't take time off work so I could sit and watch the live press conferences. That's not something I do.
What time did you get up on the Monday?
The most of them this year was actually decent times. I think the only one that I had to get up in the middle of the night for was Microsoft's.
Right.
It was like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it was like 4 in the morning. Again, I didn't. Of course, I didn't take time off to do that.
Why would you?
And so there's a couple of things that really stood out for me was that. The one thing that I was looking at, you're right?
Yeah, I'm just dying.
Someone, water, you didn't get some water.
Oh no,
all right,
down.
We're good.
So before we did like what we were hoping to see at E3, and my one was Resident Evil 7.
Yes,
and they had mentioned that they were hopefully going back to the roots. And while it doesn't so they've announced Resident Evil 7, they had a demo available to the rest of the world. We still don't have it here, annoyingly, because it was passed off as a game. So classifications are holding that up, not because it wasn't listed as a demo. So that's being held up in New Zealand, frustratingly enough. So hopefully PlayStation NZ can get on to sorting that out soon.
That'd be good.
Did you pick it?
Exclusive.
Did I pick it?
Like when they showed the trailer?
Oh no! I thought it was. I thought they brought back Silent Hill. I thought it was that PT getting remade without the people that were behind it before, like Kojima, I think, was looking at it before. So I went in thinking, oh, cool, here's like a Silent Hill game. And I thought it looked terrifying. I was like, exactly kind of what I want out of a first-person horror game. And then when it came up with that Resident Evil 7, I was just like, I got super amped. I was so super excited.
We should have like a live camera on you.
Oh yeah, it would have been like those people reactions when like Final Fantasy 7 was shown last year. People were like, is that Cloud? Oh my god! It was like that, like seeing that logo pop up. It looks like, instead of going back to its roots with tank controls and set camera angles and all that kind of stuff, which is, you were like, oh, do you actually want that? It's like, no, I want that tenseness of the original Resident Evil games. And this looks like it is going back to like, it looks terrifying.
Yeah.
And the demo was supposedly terrifying.
Had you seen that demo before? Because what was interesting about that trailer is they came out with it last year as a VR demo, and they called it Kitchen.
Yeah, it was called Kitchen.
And no one picked it. It was actually a build of Resident Evil. Even though the 7 was like in the Kitchen logo or something.
Right,
like, in there.
But you wouldn't, right? It's just a complete change of formula. I mean, it's, again, like harkening back to the scary kind of, you're in a haunted house or whatever and you're doing all these freaky things and you're traveling this city, but it's first person and it's like, what's going on here?
And for all these people, because supposedly the VR version was making people super
I heard a
ill
lot of
because
mixed
it was
feedback
like
about it.
really bad as far as frame rate and all this kind of stuff. Supposedly they're fixing that to make it even better, and then supposedly that's on a good path now. But for anyone thinking, oh, this is going to be great to play in VR, you're not going to finish it. You're not going to play it. You're going to hate it, because even the best horror experiences in VR, and they're like terrible. They're like the assets are low quality, but they're terrifying even with terrible
Do you guys
assets
remember
and
how
terrible
afraid of the
gameplay.
8-bit dinosaur I was? I was terrified. It was like polygons, and I was like, ah!
So there's a VR game called Dreadhalls, which it looks terrible, but you feel like you are under a threat of attack the whole way through, and it's the same kind of like darkness except for a spotlight coming out of your head.
Yeah.
And you just, everywhere you move is terrifying. That with like Resident Evil, like Capcom quality, I guess, writing and texture work and animation, people aren't going to get through it. People are not going to play it in VR as much as they say they want to. It'll be terrifying, it looks terrifying just on your TV.
Yeah, we did, like at E3 they had this. They built the house, like they built this big house as their stand, and you like walk through it to get to the VR stuff and stuff. Apparently, the house was really scary. So like,
You'd be in the world, and then you'd be terrified, and you'd like be like, I need to take it off, and you'd get out of it, and you were like,
you'd still be in the house.
That's genius.
Yeah.
That's genius. So that to me, easily my highlight. It just looked amazing.
Yeah.
And I just want to shout out as well to when we did our Doom review, how we're talking about the remakes of Doom and Wolfenstein. I mentioned, what if they do a Quake remake? Sure enough, there it was. I mean, it's a tournament style. It's like Quake tournament, right?
Yeah, they haven't given too much detail around it. And they're probably listening to the feedback now and building the game around what people want, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of hitback over the fact that it seemed like a hero shooter.
Yeah,
People were like,
big time.
Quake is not a hero shooter.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want, all good to have different people to playable characters, but we want it to be, on level ground. The guns are where it's at.
Do you reckon they'll add a single player?
Didn't look like they were. They specifically
like
said
much,
it was just a multiplayer arena. But they could. And this is the interesting thing about Bethesda. For the last couple of years, it's all been like, let's just bring back everything that's good.
Yeah.
Why doesn't every company just do that?
And I'm
Everyone's
a
happy.
big fan of that.
Yeah.
If we can see all of these games that were just massive in the late 90s making a comeback with amazing graphics to get the vision that they were originally aiming for, I'm all aboard for that.
I'm just excited to play Quake again.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some successes and failures in that area, personally. I think some people are just going to miss the mark completely.
Crash Bandicoot?
Yep.
What will happen?
Typically, what will happen?
We could do a whole thing about
That
that.
was one of those
Maybe we should.
announcements where it was like, everyone was like,
Yeah.
but then nothing was shown. And then you're like, Skylander, cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a character you love, right? You
I love.
Crash
I
Bandicoot.
think like that. It couldn't have worked out better for what I wanted. I want the original Naughty Dog games on the PS4, remastered and good.
And you're going to get that. You will get that. They will be good.
Because I almost bought Warped before we left, so I could play it on my Vita, and now I'm not going to buy that because I'm excited about these remasters. What I don't want is another Activision game where Crash looks like a meerkat with like every wacky smile, and Neo's like Neo Cortex is a cross dresser with his blonde wig and stuff. It got real weird for a while when Activision had it. I just want a good, solid Naughty Dog style platformer where the environment's really beautiful and Crash is just doing this thing and platforming.
So surely they'll just take the exact gameplay. They'll take the code and just update all the assets, right? And tidy up the controls. And that's probably...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because in the latest Uncharted, there was that one level.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of what they're working on. Maybe that's just taken straight from that game.
Possibly.
And that's what it's going to be like.
But I mean, that looked just like the original. There was no update for that.
But it was... Or maybe it wasn't. Yeah,
It was the
It was
original.
differently.
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast talk about this kind of same issue, and they outlined the difficulties with actually taking what was like a 4:9 game and making it full widescreen is actually really difficult.
Yeah.
Like
You
actually,
just kind of imagine that it's the missing age.
Yeah.
and actually upscaling all that stuff to HD is actually really not as easy as it may sound. So interesting.
So
Interested to see what it
Crash wasn't then your big game of E3?
No,
Well, it couldn't have been.
No.
I haven't seen it.
Can still be. You could have come away
Yeah.
from that super excited where it was his game.
Oh, yeah?
But what was it actually?
it was God of War. Because God of War
Look, Kratos is
absolutely
back. And he's taking some
absolutely
antidotes.
amazing, and like it's a strange one because God of War in past has always been a good game, but it's always been, I'm going to call it a somewhat juvenile game.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was very, there was no depth of feeling to it. You were Kratos and you smash shit with the square button and there'd be boobs in the game.
Yeah, there's blood tearing things apart, like ramming eyes out and jamming it in their throats, and then boobs
Giant
and threesomes.
Yeah.
And it was just like a teenage boy's like fantasy game.
Yeah.
And this has just gone so far the other way that I got like a little bit choked up in the trailer from like this, like with it. How long was the trailer? It was 5 minutes, maybe a bit longer.
I don't think it was 5 minutes.
No, it was about,
Yeah, it was
5
quite
minutes.
long.
It was like
Yeah.
a gameplay trailer, right?
Like the amount of just in that 5-minute trailer, I felt more for Kratos than I ever felt during the entire game.
Well, you went from nothing to some.
And when he goes, when he goes to put his hand on his son's shoulder at the end,
he's
and then
like,
kind of
nah.
peels away from it, I was just like,
Like, you can tell that the developers have matured. Like, that's the thing that's changed. The game is still made predominantly by the same, like, I think the writer for 2 has come back to write this one. And he's supposedly, he's had children, he's got a family now. It just smacks of, like, the development team having grown
Oh,
up.
guys, do you think we should put something else in this? Maybe like, some story or something?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a callback to some of those moments, the childish moments.
Yeah.
But it's also like I imagine they'll be quite self-aware of calling back to them. So I could imagine there might be a scene where we would be expecting the typical topless woman threesome that would happen to get your health back. But I think they'll kind of call out to it and do it and make light of it.
You'd be like, close your eyes, son.
Yeah,
Like,
something.
we're not-
Yeah. If we're, like just topless women telling the kid to look
Yeah.
away while they divert the game away from it. I really feel there's going to be a lot of those kind of moments.
Because from watching that trailer, I then went and did the behind closed doors with the
Exciting.
developer playthrough. They played through the same area again, but obviously they took it much slower, walked around, kind of showed the things, showed different aspects of the combat and your relationship with your son. And talked a lot more about it. Now, the guys that were taking our group through the trailer were in charge of the combat. They were the lead combat designer. And they were just going over how, since the whole tone of the game has changed, the tone of the combat has really changed as well. So now instead of, spamming square and doing, 40 hit combo or whatever it is, every hit has more depth to it. Every attack, more so to that, that almost to that Dark Souls style. You hit, it gets hurt. You get hit, you die. Like everything has like the stakes are much higher.
Yeah.
And you could really feel that in and even in the sound design now. When you hit something, it's crunch. Like it's an impactful moment, and I really like that style of gameplay more so than your Devil May Cry style action game where you get rated and or you're Bayonetta almost.
People who liked the original God of Wars are gonna like this?
I think the people that like the original God of Wars have grown up and they don't care about that anymore.
True.
I think because I was one of the people that loved God of War 1 and 2 and I was the right age to be liking it, but if God of War 4 came out and it had the same gameplay, I would have just not bought it.
Yeah.
And I think they're very aware that people who like the originals wouldn't
Want something
like
more now,
something that's made exactly the same as those.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing I really liked about it was the camera, taking it away from that being that static shot that you just kind of
real close
room
up.
through. It's way more intimate. You're right in there next to them, and it just feels it matches everything else they seem to be going for, which is cool.
The other thing I really like about it, and the reason I'm excited about it, is just the air of mystery kind of surrounding the whole game's story and your relationship with this boy. And who is he? Who are you? Who's his mother? They didn't go into any of that. And
Really, who is this? No.
Yeah.
And it was like, it just seems like such an important. The kid seems like the most important character in the game for whatever reason. And there's rumors flying around the internet that it's Thor. Like there's all these kind of really wild rumors.
So it's
out
got the
there.
thunder arrow.
Yeah, and
True.
and they were very clear that throughout the whole game, you're almost playing as the duo.
Yeah.
So you level up, the child levels up. You level up together, and the whole game story is about you teaching him how to survive. So pretty much everything you do, whether it's hunting for the first time or you're growing up this character. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really interested to see if he grows up physically.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But
Right,
then-
like if there's time skips and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, and then maybe in the final chapters you're
can,
playing
switch.
as
And
Right.
as the grown up kid. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Instead of arrows, he's got thunder fists.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Something else I noticed in the way that they presented it, which differs from every other God of War before it, is in all the E3 videos and sort of when they first show off new God of War games, it's all about the scale. It's always these massive fights and they pull the camera back and they're drawing these massive environments or massive creatures. And there was none of that.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah, there was
No,
Just
it was just to pull away to show the world, though. It wasn't like
and
it
there
wasn't
was
to
the
show.
dragon
Yeah, no, but it wasn't to
but-
show
yeah.
you fighting on the back of a golem climbing up a cliff that are fighting other things and like that kind of thing. It was more about in this game. There probably will be moments like that.
Did you see the giant serpent?
The giant, no.
Okay,
Did I?
so there was this hidden thing in the trailer, and it looked like a glacier when you did that big pull away.
Yeah.
And showed the environment. There was this glacier in front that was actually moving, and then people looked at it more, and they actually realized it had scales. So instead of what people thought was a river, it was actually like this giant.
Oh, that's cool.
creature,
That's
yeah.
cool.
But yeah, only hints. Not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It wasn't showing them as the because that was the selling point of the previous ones. Was look how massive this. Look at what we're doing that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
And it's taken that more intimate look. It's like, look how we've grown instead of look at what we're doing.
Scalebound's covering that now.
Oh yeah. Oh, Beats by Dre Scalebound.
God damn.
So weird.
It was real weird, but it's pretty rare.
Even the guy playing it
Pretty
had the
rare.
Beats by Dre on. Did you notice that in the press conference?
And then he listened to them at the end.
strange.
Oh, did he?
He put on the
Yeah.
It was real cool.
I felt nothing for that game.
No,
That doesn't
combat
look very
looked
good.
really weird.
It just looks so
talking about
boring.
highlights.
Cool. The scale was pretty cool.
Well,
Still
maybe we should wrap it up here and talk about. If you continue with the channel, hit subscribe. Maybe we should talk about some of the things that missed for us at E3 going
Yeah.
forward.
We will
Perfect.
subscribe. I think it's
Let's
done.
do
I
that.
think it's down there.
No, it's up here, isn't it?
It's over there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You tell us where the subscribe button is by clicking it.
Find it.
We're going to
Click it, and we'll know.
hotchips.co.nz.
Yeah.
Bye!
See ya!